So, what do we have here? Well, the sew-off we just finished right there is 2 layers of that nylon webbing. Now that nylon webbing, as I've told you in previous videos, this nylon webbing right here is tensile rated at about 2,000 pounds. So we just went through 2 layers of it with this Viking 10M, and it mowed through it like it was absolutely a light cotton. And the stitch quality, both the top and the lock stitch, are absolutely spectacular. Perfect in every way. Prior to that, you saw me go through what I was told when I bought the hide is a large elk hide out of Alaska. And we just went through 3 layers of that stuff. Conservatively, I would say that that's about 14 ounces of leather. And any of you that are hunters, I don't happen to be a hunter, but elk hide is incredibly tough when it comes to its composition compared to, say, a deer hide or some other hide like that. So, and this 10M just mowed through these 3 layers like it was absolutely nothing. And then just to get the machine warmed up, I started with a single layer of this elk hide, which is probably about 3 ounces maybe. But again, the lock stitch, the top stitch, it just doesn't get any better than that. They're absolutely perfect. They're absolutely spectacular in every way. So that intro piece as well, I really enjoyed that. I hope you did as well. I always try to pick a tune that will somehow remind us about the roots of the Husqvarna Viking sewing machine company. And maybe a little bit of theatrics, but I always like to put the king in the background as well, ever watching, ever aware of what's going on, and kind of vested in things, even though long ago the factory is closed, obviously. I'm going to put some other tune on right now. The first tune, by the way, was The Throne Room, and let's see. Actually, I don't like that one. Yeah, let's try this. Oh, this is fun. So you've seen those sew-offs already, and what I'm going to focus on now is some of this stuff over here. Why do I have a Husqvarna Viking motor sitting over here? Well, quite simply because I wanted to point out that while this machine, and I should backtrack a little bit here. I should backtrack. This machine is out of Mississippi, and Cathy Eves bought this machine on Goodwill online. And you may not remember, but Mike's machine that I just finished up, which was also a Husqvarna, was also purchased from Goodwill online. I love Goodwill. The mission that they have, the work that they do in the community, the work that they do with folks with special needs and handicapped folks is applaudable. But again, when they get a machine, it's not necessarily going to be up to par, and both of these machines I've had so far certainly meet that criteria of them selling something but not knowing a thing about it, and definitely not preparing it in any way for that potential customer. So I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. It's getting louder. So this particular Viking 10M, and it's getting louder. Oh my goodness. I wish I were sewing right now. Maybe I should be. Matter of fact, let me interrupt my spiel and let's jump back into a sew-off. This song demands it. Hold on a second. All right, we might as well do U.S. Army grade canvas. 2 layers. Folding it, 4 layers. 8 layers. Don't stop, music. Did I get it in just in time? I think I did. Top stitch. Lock stitch. Oh, is that a fun one? So we just sewed off. I had to do it. I was going in a different direction, but that music just kept getting louder and louder, more and more forte. I just had to jump into an impromptu sew-off with my 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas. And you've seen this before. And again, like I said, don't be deceived, because my machines make it look really, really easy. And it's not easy at all to go through 8 layers of U.S. Army grade canvas, especially to produce a stitch of that quality, of that caliber. It just doesn't happen automatically. So back to where I was going to be going. And hopefully I'll pick another tune that isn't going to quite go that Rambo on us. Otherwise, I'm going to have to jump back underneath the needle again. All right, where are we? There we are. Okay, what I was going to show you is this. Let's pick a tune. Let's see here. Dramatic. In the Hall of the Mountain. Boy, that sounds like an interesting one. Okay, so the motor you see on the right-hand side there, and again, this machine belongs to Cathy Eves, and she's out of the great state of Mississippi. And the motor you see on my workbench to the right there right now is typically the motor that I've seen on this Model 10M that I've had in my workshop before. And this motor is an extra motor that I have just in the event I have a need of it. This particular motor is a 1.5 amp motor, and it's an original Viking motor. It's absolutely hardcore in every way. The motor that's on Cathy's machine is a good motor, but it's only a 0.9 amp motor compared to the 1.5. So you can do the math. We're losing about 0.6 amps. So most 10Ms that I've had in my workshop that I've worked on have had that 1.5 original Viking motor, like this one right here. So with us having a 0.9 amp motor on Cathy's machine instead, we're basically missing the equivalent power of a Singer 201-2 or a Singer 1591. That's how big those motors are on those machines. So, and I picked the same tune. I thought I picked a different one. Bear with me for a second here. There we go. There's a different tune. I don't want to have to jump into another saw-off right away. This could prove to be exhausting. So that is a 1.5 amp motor right there. And the other thing I had on here just for kicks and giggles is these are some vintage needles that I had that were put out by the same company that just made the needles for the free Westinghouse, and they specifically labeled them space age needles. So I had to show those in the shot just for fun. And these are out of England. So apparently even in England they were concerned about space age stuff. And also I was going to show you something else over here. You can see on the right hand side of that shot, just to the left of the clippers, that is a shuttle. That is not the shuttle for this 10M. But I wanted to just show that real quick in the shot because not all shuttles are created equal. This particular shuttle has a slightly different foot and a slightly different design to it. It also has a much different size bobbin than these that are on the workbench here. So I've had customers contact me before about, I got a machine but it doesn't have a shuttle. Do you have a shuttle you can send me? Shuttles are specific to each and every machine. Once in a while you'll strike gold and you'll find a shuttle that will work with another machine. Kind of like recently I pointed out my discovery using my caliper that the bobbins that work in a Singer Featherweight 221 and a Singer 301 work in that free Westinghouse, but you don't always hit gold. So if you ever are looking at a machine and you're really kind of in love with the machine but it's missing the shuttle or it's missing the long bobbins that go inside of that shuttle, you might want to pause for a second because that may or may not be a great find. You may end up having a lot of headache trying to find a match, if you ever find a match, as far as a shuttle and or long bobbins that will work with that machine. So a little bit more I guess about Cathy's machine, this 10M. You can see it's got a different bobbin winding system on it. This bobbin winding system is going to rotate to the inside of the balance wheel, and it's going to, that little pendulum thing you see there in the middle, right here, is going to pivot back and forth, distributing that thread on the long bobbin. And that's how you're going to wind a bobbin. You're obviously going to disengage the clutch right there, and you're going to come off the top of the machine from that spool pin, and then you just kind of thread it through. I'm not going to show that specifically in this shot. But this really is a phenomenal machine. I've enjoyed using it, getting it set up and getting it up to speed. It had a lot of needs, and if you don't remember that, or if you don't do Facebook, let me jump over there real quick and I'll show you some of those progress shots that I did. Okay. So here over on Facebook are some of the shots. Now I want to emphasize that these are only a small sampling of service or progress shots on Cathy's machine. I'm limited when I post photos in a single cluster to 40 photos. So I totally maxed out. I have exactly 40 photos, but I could have taken 3, 4, 5 times that many photos easily in the shot. And posted them, but you know what? You only have so much time to do so much stuff. So here's the opening shot of Cathy's 10M. There were a number of challenges with this machine, as you'll see in the shots. There were some tensioning issues, and depending on the material you sew with this 10M, the tension design on this machine is very unique, and it does not tend to like some of the nylon type materials very much, especially when it comes to pulling them up through that fabric. But it's as good as it's going to get at this point, and it's as it was designed. Here we've got the original bobbin winding tire. You can see it's an absolute mess. It was totally dry rotted, and it wasn't going to do any good on the machine at all. So here in the background you can see that I've replaced it with another bobbin winding tire. Another, again, just a closer shot of that bobbin winding area. Also, you can kind of see in the background of it, right here is a basically a gauge, and it's going to have different numbers on it. And when it comes to that gauge, it's going to tell you where that stitch length is as you move the lever just to the left of this shot up and down. It's going to give you an idea of where you're at in that stitch length. Here you've got the inside area as well, which was absolutely filthy. It also needed a couple of adjustments on it as well. Here you've got a shot of the bottom of the machine. A lot of lubrication points on this 10M, and most of them were as dry as could be. Just another shot of the bottom, and the bottom was also very, very filthy, as you might be able to see in some of the shots on Facebook. Here I'm not getting quite as close up, and you're not able to see them. So if I ever asked you a trivia question, which I won't, but on the 10M, where is the serial number posted? You can see it right there on the bottom of the bed, front side, just below the edge. And there's our nomenclature plate as well, which proudly announces that this machine was made, obviously, in Sweden. Here's our bobbin winding area again, and I took a closer shot just so you could see again the filth and the dirt on this machine. And there's the lever I was talking about that you can rise up and down, and then you've got that little gauge. This is going to be your stitch length lever right here. Here you've got to look into the area where the shuttle does its magic, and this point right here can be adjusted in or out, and I had to make a number of adjustments to get it to line up with the needle swipe, and then this goes back and forth very, very rapidly. It is not old science either. In my opinion, the shuttle and the long bobbin delivers as fine, if not better, of a stitch than the more contemporary bobbins and the oscillating type shuttle systems that we have in most machines. And I was very impressed by the stitch quality after I got done with it. Here you can see the back of that motor, which is put out by Premier. Again, I can see by looking at it that it's an original motor that matches the Mozilla type design of the machine. You can see there in the shot it's a 0.9 amp, and it was made in the USA. So like some of the motors that we saw that were made by Westinghouse, this motor was also made in the USA and distributed with the machine from Sweden. And back of the light, I'm just showing you it's wired hot all the time when the machine is plugged in, because when this came to me, the little control on top was snapped off. It was gone. Here's just another shot of the back of the machine. And you can't see it very well, but it does have the branding mark with the crown on the rear of the machine as well. They're very proud of their crown and the roots of that. Here's our presser foot pressure adjustment. You obviously screw it clockwise to make it heavier. As you go to heavier materials, you unscrew it counterclockwise as you want to sew lighter materials and not have those feed dogs dig in. Here you're seeing the machine from the faceplate. The faceplate doesn't open up unless you take the screws off, and that's how I accessed it for all the lubrication, the cleaning, etc. Just another shot of the faceplate area kind of looking down the side of the machine. Here's the faceplate off. You can see the presser foot spring, and there was just a lot of cleaning in this area on the needle bar and everything else. Also, the tension control had to come out, and that had to be disassembled and cleaned as well. You can see all the gook and all the dirt in there inside of the faceplate area. Here I've actually taken the bobbin winder off, and I'm doing a lot of deep cleaning on that as well. And I'm also making some adjustments on it. This is the plug-in point for the motor and the light as this machine is set up. And there was a lot of oxidation, corrosion, and even mold on the inside of there that I had to clean out. You can kind of see it in that shot. It's not just a cleanliness preference, but obviously whenever you have electrical contacts like that all gummed up and messed up with stuff, it doesn't serve to power that machine properly. And in extreme cases, it could even be a fire hazard. So here you can see even the copper contacts are absolutely filthy, and all of those had to be cleaned as well. Now here was the most interesting thing, and I always make it a habit when I get a machine and there's an unknown about it. In other words, if the person says, I've never used the machine before, I've never sewed with it before, don't know a thing about the machine. And that was Cathy's situation, where she bought it from Goodwill online and then had them ship it directly to me, kind of like Mike did. And she had never used it before. So I always side with caution, and I always look at all the electrical components before I plug that sucker in and hit the foot control. And in this instance, it's really a good thing that I did, because the wires were crossed, as you'll see in some of these shots, and they were also frayed. So there could have been a real, I mean, it may have been as simple as tripping a breaker. It could have been more of an extreme outcome than that had I not checked first to make sure that everything was good to go. Also, this wire that's inside of the foot control was about 90% of the way off and was grounding against the casing, which is metal, of the foot control. So I could have also gotten shocked off of there, or again, there could have been worse outcomes than that. This is a foot control after it's been at least initially adjusted, in that not totally cleaned yet. You can see a big old dust bunny in there, and obviously all of that has to be cleaned, including all of the wires, to strip off all the gummy stuff from them. Here you've got where that belt is going to ride over the balance wheel, and it was absolutely filthy, as you can see. And here again on the balance wheel, we've got some sort of a gumminess. It's almost looked like it was a chewing gum, but I had to scrape that off with one of my dental tools. And here again is just more filth that I'm removing. Here's a real good shot that kind of shows you that stitch length lever for this 10M. And then as you bring it up and down, you can see the meter marks on here to know where your stitch length is. That is our pulley right off of the motor. God knows how they were getting any traction at all. It was a combination of old thread. It looked like twine, dirt, gum, grease. Well, you can pretty much see it in the shot. And there's a happy pulley after it's been cleaned, so that we've got positive traction and we've got great drive, as you saw in the initial sew-offs that I just did. Here we're cleaning the needle bar, getting all of the gum and dirt and oil, old oil off of there. There's the inside of the tension control. Remember I said I had to disassemble it? This is kind of us taking that tension control, the upper tension control, apart and cleaning each piece individually. And here is a shot of the foot control after it's been cleaned, rewired, and it's going to deliver exactly as it should and working in concert with that motor now. And it's going to lay down power like we would expect from a Swedish Beauty. And this is no big deal, but on the bottom of the foot control there were no pads. So I had to remove the old metal contacts, and then I applied 2 pads on each side so that foot control, number one, isn't going to scratch if Cathy has a wood floor, but it's also going to provide some grip. So as she's pressing on the foot control, it's not going to be sliding around on her. And that's it. Like I said, that's a small sampling of photos, progress photos, that I took of taking Cathy's machine through my surgical process. Like I said, there could have been 3 to 4 times that number of photos showing the different cleaning processes and adjustments and everything else that I had to do to Cathy's 10M. So let me grab another tune, and then we're going to do the final 2 sew-offs. I think I'll do 2 more sew-offs. I'm going to do some of the other leather you've seen me sew before, and then I'm going to do some denim. And if I have time, I might do 1 more sew-off after that, but I don't know if we'll have time for that or not. So let me go ahead and head down to the needle, and at the same time I will see if I can pick some music out for us to enjoy while we're doing our thing down at the needle. Okay, so I'm going to flip that screen around, go back, and if any of you have wondered about the music that I pick, YouTube gives me a selection, a fairly wide selection of of music that I can pick out. I can search it by title, by theme. I'm already doing my due diligence to find Hawaiian style or island style music for Dan's 201-2 when I present his machine shortly. I'll be doing that quite soon. But that's how I get this, and all the music is approved by YouTube. It's royalty free, so I'm able to have a wealth of music that I can incorporate into these premieres. Okay, so this tune, let's see, what is this? Renaissance Castle. So just imagine His Highness, the King, we're going to his castle for this next sew-off. Who knows? All right. It's almost kind of a somber piece. I'm feeling kind of mellow yellow right now. All right, so let's do denim first. I've got 2 layers right here you can see in a straight thread. I'll leave it. And if I fold it in half as it is right now, I'm up to 4. And then if I fold it one more time, I'm up to 8. But I'll be honest with you, the presser foot clearance on this 10M is not the best I've seen. And it also doesn't have a hyperextension. So while I would love to do the 8 layers, because I believe that the machine could do it, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I can fit that underneath. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But I am going to do 4 layers nonetheless. And I'll maybe do like a little dipsy doodle down and around or something like that, just for fun. All right, so 4 layers. Love to do 8, but I can't because of the presser foot clearance. So here is 4 layers of genuine denim. Heavy duty denim. Here we go. You can see I'm holding it really steady right now, so you don't have to go pedal to the metal with this machine. You are able to regulate speed. I'm even going to slow it down more now, just to show you can really slow it down and have a lot of control with this 10M as well. Again, the only downfall is the 10M does not have the best presser foot clearance. It's not comparable to some of the other newer green machines where you can fit just a ton underneath the presser foot. This doesn't have that, and you can sometimes cheat with that hyperextension. This does not have a hyperextension either. So here you can see our top stitch, absolutely spectacular. The stitch quality, the formation, the consistency of that stitch is absolutely as it should be. And as we look at the lock stitch as well on the bottom here, it's absolutely spot on. And you saw the control. I mean, some of the other sew-offs, I just jumped into it. I'm a guy that likes speed. You've seen that through some of the shots in the paint shop with some of the cars that I like to attach myself to. But this machine also is all about control. So if Cathy needs to do some really controlled sewing, since this Viking green machine, which well predates the 1950s, this one doesn't have the benefit of that slow gear. You can regulate that speed using that foot control very cautiously. And we just did that beautifully with these 4 layers of heavy grade denim. So the final sew-off that I'm going to do, if I can fit it underneath the presser foot, will be 4 layers of this leather that you've seen me sew before. And this is a recycled piece of leather that I've done in some of the other sew-offs. My source for buying leather has dried up, at least for now, so I've got to kind of play it cautious and make sure I don't run out of leather, because I know that all of you love to see the leather sew-offs, and I need to make sure that I can do that for you. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. This tune, if you're interested, is called The New King. The New King. And I hope I'm not making His Highness nervous, because no, sir, we're not going to replace you. You are irreplaceable, totally. All right, so back down to the needle, and we are going to do some of this leather that you've seen me do and some of the other sew-offs. And we're going to try to do 4 layers, if I can fit it underneath the presser foot. Again, our presser foot clearance is a little bit more limited on this machine. So here I'm folding it in half. We're up to 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold it again and get us up to 4. I will give it my best shot, folks. Hopefully I get a good outcome. So there's 4 layers of this genuine cowhide. I'm going to really kind of press it down against those feed dogs as I get it into place so I can hopefully accomplish this for you. Alright, so the presser foot is down. We did it. 4 layers. And I am going to attack this pretty aggressively. I love speed, and I want to show you the power. Even though it's a 0.9 amp motor instead of the 1.5 that comes most commonly on these Model 10Ms, it's still got a lot of kick, especially after I went through the motor. So here we go. 4 layers of genuine cowhide. Come on, Scott. There we go. I've got a cement floor in the workshop, and I have to admit I was struggling a little bit because that even though I put those new grips on the bottom, it was slipping a little bit on me. That's why I kind of fluctuated there. Alright, let's get that into place. There we go. So here again is 4 layers of genuine cowhide. If you can see it in the shot, the stitch quality is absolutely spectacular in every way. I'm going to move it back and forth for you so you can see it. And I'm kind of looking at the camera as I'm doing this so I can see the little screen there. If I turn it over, you can see our lock stitch is also spectacular. The formation, the spacing, everything about that stitch is absolutely spot on. And I've tried bringing the light in before, and when I review the Premiere with you, I found sometimes the light actually is a hindrance, but maybe it'll help in this case with the red against the brown. So again, reminder, this is what we just mowed through. The 4 layers of genuine cowhide, and this 10M didn't have any trouble with it at all. The only holdback it has, the only thing that holds it back is the clearance underneath that presser foot, unfortunately. So that would be the only, if I were a critic of Swedish Beauties, which I generally am not, that would be the only critique that I would offer on this 10M is presser foot clearance. If you're looking to go extreme, as I love to go, you're kind of held back a little bit. So I'm going to put these, to the best of my ability, back in the order that we did them. The first one we did was a single layer of genuine cowhide. Then we did these 3 layers of this elk skin, or elk hide, if you will. I'm all caught up here. Oh, I didn't even clip those. Look at me. Then we did the denim. And I'm going to run out of space here real quick because this bed on the 10M is not bad, but it's not nearly as spacious, obviously, as the other green machines that followed it. That was probably one of the gripes or grievances that the folks using the machines in the day had about the 10M. You know, wonderful machine, but as far as workspace, matter of fact, I'll give you a quick measurement because you might be wondering. And I'll come out on the shot a little bit. And I'm almost out of time. You know my camera quits at about 36 minutes. We only have about 3 minutes left. I will have to invest in another camera eventually. It's just a big expense, you know? Okay, so from the needle to the pillar, you're looking at about 7 3/4 inches, or 7.5, I'm sorry. About 7.5, a little bit less than 7.5 inches. So that's dramatically smaller than the other green machines, which are probably up around 9. And that 2 inches can definitely make a big difference. All right, so the first sew off we did, I'm going to try to zip through this pretty quick because we are about out of time, folks. Single layer of this elk, and as you can see, absolutely spot on, spectacular stitches. We then upped the ante and we went to 3 layers of this elk. And again, you can see the stitches are absolutely spot on. We then went to my recycled piece of genuine cowhide, and we went to 4 layers. And the machine delivered on that as well, just beautifully. I mean, the quality of the stitch, going the wrong way there. The quality of the stitch, the spacing, the formation, everything about that stitch was just absolutely spot on. You can see all my other little pinpoints there where I've used this for other sew-offs. And then finally we went, I would love to have gone to 8 layers of heavy grade denim. But even with 4 layers, you can kind of see what we went through there, and you can see the stitch quality is absolutely spectacular and spot on this this Viking 10M. So, you know, would I love if this 10M had the 1.5 that's on my workbench right there? Absolutely. But does it need it? I'll be honest with you, probably not. The machine really showed its stuff and did, in my opinion, a spectacular job in going through all of these sew-offs. The only hindrance it had, again, was the presser foot clearance. Apart from that, the machine is delivering great now after going through the motor, after doing all the other deep cleaning, the adjustments. Cathy's going to have a spectacular machine to sew for her down in Mississippi. So appreciate you watching this video. Appreciate a number of you that have stepped out of the shadows with some of the recent impromptu contests. That really means a lot. It's an encouragement to me to see folks step out and get involved and get engaged and demonstrate an interest in learning, which is really what this channel is all about. And I just have to say real quick, to give credit to Bill, what you can't see is some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, where folks will have questions or inquiries about things that require some pretty hardcore research. And Bill has jumped into that as passionately as he said he would when I did that phone conversation with him that I recorded and I shared with you. So I really am grateful.